Welcome to the biggest clutter you don't know you have. It's kind of an ominous title, isn't it? So I'm going to take you through my slides and I'm going to leave time at the end for questions. So save your questions. We are going to be doing an exercise. So I'm glad you came prepared with your pens and papers. So I'll tell you what we're going to do tonight. Identify the source of your internal clutter. Pinpoint the biggest clutter you're carrying so you can clear it, and discover the biggest type of clutter you've got going on inside your mind, inside your body. So that's me, breakthrough coach and clutter specialist. This is exactly where I'm sitting right now, and that's where you'll often find me, is on Zoom, working with my clients, working on my business, working out of my home here in Moncton, New Brunswick, where I grew up. I used to be in Toronto. And what I do with my clients and with people is I help busy women and men eliminate overwhelm and get organized so they can find peace and take control of their lives both inside and out. And like I mentioned, I started in Toronto with my home staging and organizing business in 2007. So I've been at this for a number of years. I was doing that part-time while I was doing some coaching work in corporate coaching, communications coaching. I was moving out of my previous career, which I'll mention later. And what I really, really love about what I do is helping people realize that they can learn to become organized. It's just a muscle you haven't exercised. It's just a tool you don't know about. It's entirely teachable, which is why I'm able to do it virtually and get into people's homes all over the country and internationally. And I teach people, and what they learn is that their homes actually have more space than they think. And they can let go of their limiting beliefs and perspectives in 3 months or less. It doesn't have to take that long when you're using the right tools. And where you'll also find me here locally is sometimes still working in people's homes, loading my lovely little Honda Fit. You can fit lots of shit in the Fit. And I got all those bags out of 1 3-hour session with a client working on her closet and her clothes. Actually, it was a couple, so it wasn't just one person. I did leave them with some clothes, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm not just a professional organizer, of course. I'm a person who loves to travel. There's me literally in the postcard of my dreams on the Whitsunday Islands on the Gold Coast of Australia. I was on that boat, a liveaboard called the Blizzard, funnily enough. And I traveled for 5 weeks, and I started in Bali, Indonesia, with Angela Rauscher at her incredible yoga retreat. Angela's waving hi, and it was called Awaken the Goddess Within. And man, did it ever. It was wonderful. And we traveled in Bali after, and then I went on by myself 3 weeks in Australia. So the total was 5 weeks for the 5 decades of my life. I was turning 50 that year, and that was my celebration for me. Pretty awesome. And so besides travel, I love yoga. That is my exercise of choice. I love it so much that I took Angie's yoga teacher training in 2000. That was my COVID project, and it was well worthwhile studying every weekend or every second weekend with Ange and her cohort, Jan. And it was fabulous online. Totally worked, just like this stuff does. And in this picture, we went to a yoga class, and that was our yoga teacher, and that was in Cambodia. Highly recommend. Beautiful people. And the bottom picture is I had to search high and low to find this picture of me singing. That was my previous career. I used to be in musical theater. And so I have my degree in music, majoring in voice. And then I went on to study at Sheridan College in Ontario for music theater performance. And I performed professionally, like all over the world. I was on a cruise ship. I did stuff in Toronto. Was at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival, if you know of that, any Canadians. This picture is me with my niece, Madison. And she kind of takes after Auntie Kim. She is a musician, and I love that. All right. So before we move on from these pictures and into the main part of our content for you, I also want to say it's not all sunshine and music, right? It's not all happy times. Of course, like you, I have had ups and downs. And I want to just briefly touch on that because, things like Instagram and pictures like this make it seem like everything's perfect. And that is not real. And so, what's real is when I felt very overwhelmed and anxious and stressed was when my world turned upside down back in 2008, 2009. My husband of 9 years left our marriage. I felt like the rug was pulled out from under me. 3 weeks later, my dad was in the hospital. We didn't know why. He had 3 weeks of tests that finally showed that he had multiple myeloma, blood and bone cancer, pretty serious. And so he started treatments, and I flew in from Toronto. My brother, at one point, when we thought we were losing our dad over Thanksgiving, flew from the States. And it was a very, very difficult time, of course, for our family. He actually made it out of the hospital at that time, made it home for Christmas. We thought he might have been out of the woods. We knew he had a difficult road, but he also had congestive heart failure, and that's what took him that summer. And so within a year of my marriage ending, my two greatest men in my life were gone. It was a very, very difficult time. And of course, I was sad. Of course, I was shocked. And then I was angry. And then I was stuck. And I went into a depression, a very functional depression. I went to work, but I was not myself. I was not my best self for sure. And so friends really stood behind me. I was very lost. And finally, a friend who, gently kept at it. I went to her therapist, and I went to therapy for almost 2 years. And I thank God for that, because that really got me through the worst of it. And of course, I read the books and took the workshops, and I moved past it and put it in the rearview mirror and started living my life again. And things were good. And then they were better. And I'm sure you can relate. So I know I can't see the chat right now, but please type in the chat, yes, I can relate, if any of that lands with you. I'm sure it does, because that's what life is all about, right? The ups and downs. But I want to briefly touch on why I'm bringing that up as well, is because, like I said, I went to therapy. I moved past that. And it wasn't until this winter, when I was in a program, a fantastic program with a number of wonderful coaches from all over the world, called the Freedom Leaders. And I was getting certified. And so we were practicing these tools on each other. One of these tools I'm going to be using with you tonight. And so we were releasing a lot of past traumas, difficulties, limiting beliefs and perspectives. And up came grief. I mean, I thought that was gone. And boy, did it. I mean, there was one day I remember crying for hours. I couldn't stop crying. And I typed in our private group, I can't stop crying. And all these wonderful coaches came in and supported me, and also helped me clear it. And so it's possible to not even know that you have that still playing in you. And it's possible to release it. And I feel fantastic now. And that is, I can tell you, truly, we're always going to have that in our heart for sure. But I know that I'm in a different place now. All right. So thank you for listening. I wanted to share that. And now we're going to get on to our main content here. What is clutter? What is clutter, right? There's a lot of definitions out there. I got some visuals first, because I'm a real visual person. And also, of course, clutter is clothes. I like to break it down into these main categories: clothes, books, papers, other, and sentimental. And sentimental can be any of those. You can have sentimental clothes, sentimental books, sentimental papers. And I thought this picture really, well, it stood out for me, because when people call me, it's amazing. Over the years, I've heard these same words. Besides overwhelmed and stressed and frustrated, I hear, I'm drowning in my stuff. I can't breathe when I'm at home. I have to get out of the house. Um, I'm I'm really struggling, and I feel like I'm suffocating. And many people describe their clutter that way. So it really holds a lot of weight and a lot of emotion. It also takes up a lot of place in our mind. This is the focus of tonight, mind clutter. When we've got that going on, we forget things. We snap at our loved ones because we're short tempered. We're tired because we're not sleeping as well. Mind clutter takes up so much space. And I thought I'd toss in that photo of sentimental clutter because sentimental clutter is the hardest to let go of. And some of you may have some of that. So I want you to type in the chat which of these is the one that you feel has the strongest hold on you and which you would like to let go of the most. Okay. And what is clutter? Again, clutter is unmade decisions. So besides the visuals, I got these definitions. That's my definition. And one of the things that I do with my clients and my friends and helping people is helping them make the decisions quicker, easier, faster. Because that's the biggest thing that I find holds people back. And what clutter is, when you look around your home, really, it's the physical manifestation of what's blocked or not working in your life. And therefore, it can be a symptom of deeper issues or problems that are going on. And clutter may have been with you all your life. So then you're more of a person who is chronically disorganized, or it may have come up ever since something, ever since my divorce, ever since I had twins, ever since I moved. And that is more of a situational type of clutter. Okay. Where you have clutter in your house tells a story. Okay. So look around. Is it in that back room? And what is going on in that back room that you never get to? Are you wanting to write that book, but you just can't get to it because you can't get to the desk? There's too much stuff. Is it that you want to lose some weight and you've got your closet with all your clothes and the different sizes are very hard to let go of? Maybe that's blocking you. Maybe it's in your kitchen. Maybe it's so look at where it is in your house because it does tell a story. All right. I love this quote. I'm going to read it out. Abundance is a process of letting go. That which is empty can receive. I love that quote. Think about it with your mind clutter. When you let go of stuff, don't you feel so much clearer, so much lighter, able to go to sleep, able to have fun again, able to take the weekend off? Okay, let's go on to the next slide, which if I had a sound effect with this would be, do we change programs here? But I want to touch on this and teach you a little bit of this because the certification that I got as a freedom leader is linked with the law of attraction. So I would be remiss for not teaching you just two very important points about it. And it really does tie in with clutter and what you're attracting into your life. So the first is alignment and the second is vibration. And they're two different things. And I'm going to briefly teach you them. So this is a great image. So if you're confused about the two, really focus on this image. Simply put, alignment is just about how good you feel. That's the easiest way to think about it. The more clear definition is the level of connectivity between you and your inner being. So that's your spirit, your true you. It's not your ego, okay? And when you are aligned, I'm sure you have felt this, synchronicities just come up. You have these instincts that seem to be on fire. Your intuition is clear, and you're just in this state of ease and flow. You might feel it when you're traveling. You might notice it when you're with your kids, when you're laughing, when you're with your pets, when you're out in nature. Ease and flow. So you're in alignment. Everything just feels good. Like I just said, and the key is, how do I get into alignment? Just feel good. And I want to stop at this for a second because You may be not feeling really good, and you might not be feeling good a lot of the time right now for whatever case, whatever reason. And so, of course, you're not going to reach for total happiness, joy, and bliss. That is too far of a jump on the emotional scale. So, to get aligned is listen to what you need. And often our ego jumps in and says, keep pushing through, keep going. So and so is going to judge you for, not showing up. When if you're in struggle, all you really want is a nap, just 15 minutes. That will get you to the next state of feeling good and get relief. So you just move up to relief and then you land in relief for quite a while. Then you can move up to satisfaction and states of satisfaction. Then higher states of excitement and tuned in and tapped in, and then bliss. Okay. So start with just feeling good. What feels good? Then you can get to happiness, which is the Wi-Fi signal between you and your inner being. When you got full bars, you're connected. Okay. You are aligned. All right, so that is alignment. That's one of the biggest concepts in the law of attraction. A lot of people know about the law of attraction. They listen to or follow Abraham Hicks, or they listen to Bashar. If you don't know who those people are, Google them or search them on YouTube and check out law of attraction. My coach and mentor has tons of videos on this on his YouTube channel. His name is Nick Bro. All right, vibration. Vibration is similar but different. And that's why I have this image here. Vibration is what creates manifestation. So if you're interested in bringing things into your life, it's not about your alignment. You can be as happy as you can be. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to manifest that which you desire. In order to manifest, you need to be a vibrational match to that thing. Okay. So it's like an AM FM radio receiver or frequency. If I'm there trying to tune to Jazz FM and I want to relax and I got it way up on 109.9 and I've got some sort of heavy metal coming in, that's not the same frequency. That's not what I'm looking for. Well, the same thing if you want to bring in love, if you're focusing on lack of love or loneliness or just any kind of other state opposite from love, you're not going to attract that in. You're not going to receive it. So your job is really to become a full-time receiver. So as I say here, you are translating the vibrational frequency into your physical reality experience. And lastly, the vibrational signal you send out defines your physical reality. And that might come as a bit of a kick in the pants because I know when I was really studying this and when I really owned that statement, I was like, holy crap, that means like everything is my creation. So if I don't have this, this, and this, what am I doing wrong? And it's not that you're not doing anything wrong. It's simply you have not been a vibrational match for a long enough time for that to come in and flow in. Okay. All right. So I'm sure there'll be questions about this at the end. I'm going to move forward into the last piece here, which is about dominant negative emotions. And it's so important because it can really run our lives. And usually there's 1 to 3 dominant negative emotions running in the background, like a refrigerator. You no longer hear it anymore, or like an air conditioner. I'm not good enough. Oh, that was so stupid. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, that was a dumb move. And so behind all these emotions, like not feeling good enough or feeling shame or frustration or anger, behind that emotion lies a perspective anchoring it in place. Okay. And when we discover our dominant negative emotions and become aware of them, then we can finally do something about them. So the first step is awareness. All right. And some of you, maybe, you've done some work, and you might be aware of some of these. But what we're going to do tonight, and this is where you will need your pen and paper soon, is we're going to do a process that uncovers these. It's pretty quick. And it's one of the processes that I learned to become certified as a freedom leader. All right. Oh, yeah. Love this quote. It's by Peter Walsh. People hang onto their stuff like it's a life raft when in fact it's an anchor weighing them down. And I can promise you, there hasn't been a single client in 15 years that called me up after I left their home and donated their stuff that they didn't want anymore and said, "Can you bring it all back?" Not one. All right. They just felt light. And it's amazing how we hang on to it, though, right? And that's like hanging on to lack, which is, as I was talking about, the law of attraction. That's the opposite of what you want. It's the opposite of vibrating at a frequency of freedom and joy and love and so on. So Peter Walsh, he's written many books. He's a fantastic organizer. One of the people that got me excited about getting into this business years ago when I was watching his show called Clean Sweep. You might remember it. Okay. All right. Time to get your pens ready. So I'm going to take a little drink. The attraction point audit. So I'm going to be asking you this question, and I put it up here on the screen so that you don't forget it. It's two questions, and but I'm going to ask it about different circumstances in your life. We're going to keep it simple. I want you to keep out of your heads. So, in fact, why don't we take just a moment to ground? I'm sure you're pretty comfortable, but just take a deep breath right from your toes all the way up into your chest. Relax your shoulders and then let it go slowly. So I've just told you a lot of things here. Take another one at your own pace, nice and slow and low, all the way up through your body and then out. You might even shake it out a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to get you out of your heads here. Even though I'm asking you these questions, I want you to answer with the first thing that comes to mind and just tune in for first thought. Okay. So the first circumstance, I want you to put on number one on your paper, and that is your current employment. Okay. So think about your current job, your current career. If you're not employed at this time, think about the fact that you're not employed, so you're searching for work, or if you're retired, your retirement. Okay. Current career, not in work or retirement. And what is the worst or hardest part about this circumstance? Okay. First thing, it could be can't stand my boss, or they don't pay me enough, or I can't count on the work, it's sporadic. What's the worst or hardest part? Just a sentence, just a couple words, really. And then, how does it make you feel? So, not knowing when work comes in makes me feel worried, if that's what it is. Okay, one or two emotions tops. First thing that comes into your head. Okay, okay, good. We're going to go to previous employment. So when I said that, something came to mind. It might not be linear. It might not be your last piece of work, but go to that. So your previous employment, it might be a long time ago, and ask yourself, with that previous job, that previous career, or that previous time of unemployment, what's the worst or hardest part about that past circumstance? Think about how you felt then. The worst part was I wasn't, you know, living up to my potential. I knew I had more. And so it made me feel I felt defeated, let's say. Okay. So you should have that by now. Okay, now let's switch gears and go to your current financial circumstance. Think about where you're at. What's the worst or hardest part about it? Could be I'm in retirement. This is really new for me. I'm not sure. I feel unsure. Financial circumstance currently. Worst or hardest part? How does it make you feel? Okay. And just seriously, like one line, really, couple of words and one or two emotions. Okay. Next, current romantic relationship. If you're not in a relationship, lack of romantic relationship. Okay. I'm single. So I would write about that. My lack of relationship, the worst or hardest part. How does it make me feel? Should just come. Don't overthink it. Sure, there's lots of great things about your spouses and fiancés and husbands and boyfriends and girlfriends. Just the worst or hardest part. Okie doke. Let's go to past significant romantic relationship. Okay, that might have been a long time for some of you married people have been in a relationship for a very long time. But that past significant, and again, it doesn't have to be linear. You might skip over the last kind of boyfriend. Who was the last significant? And what was the worst or hardest part about that relationship when you were in it with that person? And then how did it make you feel? I couldn't trust him. So I felt scared. Okay. Now let's go to family members who create wobble. And as soon as I said that, you likely had a family member pop up in your head. It might be your mom, your dad. Don't do your partner because we've just covered that with a romantic relationship. So pick somebody else within your family. It could be your kids, your mother in law, your brother. Okay. Pick that one person, put their name, and think about the relationship currently and what is the worst or hardest part about this circumstance. And if you even want, if it was a really significant relationship and it's coming to mind and you want to pick somebody who's passed, like your dad has passed, but there was something that stands out, if that popped in your head, do that. How does it make you feel? One or two words, one or two feelings. Make sure you are using feeling words as well, rather than it made me feel like, rather than it should be I felt. I felt ignored. I felt lost. I felt heartbroken. I felt frustrated. I felt angry. I felt sad. Okay. And then do one more, just one more family member, any family member who now pops up in your head. Worst or hardest part of that current relationship with that family member, and how does it make you feel? How do you feel? Feel unheard, feel stuck. Okay. All right. I'm sure you could journal further on your family members, but let's move to the last question. And that is past significant traumas. So that could be anything from a major car accident to something from your childhood. But when I say past significant trauma, something likely came to mind. You can just jot that there. And what was the worst or hardest part about that circumstance for you? Not what others said about it, for you. This is your attraction point audit. And then once you have that, how did it make you feel? Like with the example I gave earlier, when my husband left and my dad passed, um, felt like the rug was pulled out from under me, and I felt lost and sad. So, for those who have completed this and those who are finishing up, now I want you to look at all your emotions that you've written there, and I want you to circle the same ones. So you likely have some similar ones. You might see sad 3 times, or frustrated 3 times, or you might see frustrated, annoyed, irritated. That's pretty much the same one. So that's one of your dominant negative emotions. You'll likely have about three. 85% of men and women have 1 to 3 dominant negative emotions. Okay. And jot that underneath this. My dominant negative emotions are sad, frustrated, angry, let's say. Okay. And we can talk about this a little bit more once I just finish with the slides, too. And as you can see on the slide, what I've written here is because I didn't want to forget to say is these are the root causes or the dominant sources of resistance that you're carrying. So the reason why I taught you about the law of attraction earlier is it is law. It is like life is effortless when we allow it to flow. However, when these dominant negative emotions are running the show and triggering us when we come up in contact with these people and in these circumstances, they pull us out of alignment, they mess with our vibe, and therefore we are not manifesting that which we so desire. Okay. So what do we do? What do we do? We look at clearing those. Okay, we look at doing the clearing work. And those are the other two things that I'm certified in, which is called the belief tree process and the freedom formula process. And it takes the dominant negative emotions and cuts that line from that emotion that you're feeling that's dragging you down. And when you no longer have that perspective or belief about something, like a house of cards, those those negative emotions fall. And I can give a personal example. When I was doing that work this winter, I ended up, because I am living back home, I'm in contact with my mom very regularly, and we don't always see eye to eye. And she often frustrates me, and vice versa. So I got to practice this one a lot. And as I was clearing and doing the clearing work, eventually, and I was putting things into practice too. There are tools to put into practice. I noticed myself not getting triggered in the same way interacting with my mom. It was amazing. And in those moments when she would say something that normally would get me defensive or make me, have a sharp comment, I didn't feel that way. And therefore, I didn't respond in that way. And therefore, she, of course, didn't feel that defense. And we started to get along a lot better. And things, I'm honestly telling you, have been easy and beautiful in a relationship that wasn't always that way. So, this stuff works. This stuff really, really works. All right, we have one slide left here because now what, right? What do I do with this? I've got these dominant negative emotions. You've shown me now what? And what does this have to do with clutter? So, how does your clutter make you feel? Okay, I'm going to encourage you after this workshop, after this mind clutter masterclass, to journal on that a little bit more. You might want to do that in the morning if that's what you prefer, but that would be your journal prompt that I encourage. How does my clutter make me feel? How do my dominant negative emotions relate to my clutter? Right? Because it comes from the mind in the first place before it physically manifests as a bunch of stuff in our house and a bunch of clutter in our life, in our relationships. So how do my dominant negative DNEs relate to my clutter? And then what steps would I like to take to clear either of these? I'd love to thank you so much for your attention, for your active learning, and I see you writing and really getting into this process. I hope you enjoyed it. Just tying back to the other part of the thing that I do with people when we find the dominant negative emotions, they're not just up here, right? They're all throughout your body because what comes about in your head goes into your body. And so, if you might have, maybe some of you had not good enough come up or stuff like that kind of emotion, you might have neck and shoulder issues. So, type in the chat, yeah, that's me, or neck and shoulders. For any of you who have lower back pain, maybe you came up with some of your DNEs were stuck, lack of control, powerlessness that really manifests in the lower back. The other one that's quite common is stomach and digestive issues. I see a lot of IBS clients that come to me. Sometimes had a client once who, in our first session, she told me she has tinnitus. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And her dad had it. She said it's really bothering her. It had been bothering her for months. We went on. We did all the clearing work. We did some clutter clearing, all virtual. She was in the States. And at the end, when we were summing up, she reminded me, she goes, oh, do you remember in the first session, I talked about my tinnitus? Because that left after the first session. And I forgot about it and I forgot to talk about it. And I was like, wow, really? So things like this can, once, like I say, it's like a house of cards. You got that dominant negative emotion. You've got this belief anchoring it in place. Boom, you clear it, house of cards, emotions leave. And eventually, the body does let it go. It no longer embodies that. Sometimes you have to put some practices in to do that, to really release it. But I didn't say that the stomach digestive, if you have that going on, that's typically anticipation fears, walking on eggshell syndromes. So if your DNEs came up a lot of fear, anxiety, stress, worry, concern, maybe you have that going on in your body. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. If anyone does want to get in touch with me, I'm at kimsneath.com. All right. Bye, everyone.